Welcome back to day 3, guys. So I think this is the best view you're going to get of what I'm about to do is the springs. It's already 83 degrees outside, or it's going to be 83 by 10 o'clock. It's about 9 o'clock now. And I got a fan blowing down there. If you hear a little bit of a hum, there's a fan blowing down there. Try and get some of this air moving because it's cooler down there on the concrete than it is up here already. And we're going to try and get this done as quickly as possible and get the heck out of here. A couple of things you need to know. The pulleys and the springs are labeled with red and black. Okay? So the black goes to the right, the red goes to the left, and I got that out of the book. That's in the book, and that's because of the way they're wound. So when you're twisting it, you're twisting up so that you're putting the tension on it, so then it lifts the door, you know, the opposite way. And these are made the same way. They're just opposite of each other. So red to the left, black to the right. I would think that's common for most doors, but don't quote me on that because I don't know that. Make sure you look at your instructions. So the first thing we got to do then is we got to get this other bracket up here. The bracket with the bearings in it gets attached to this plate right here. And I have to put another little board right here on my post, just as a spacer, okay? So I have them pre-cut. That's just gonna go on there like that. And then this bracket goes on there, like so, for the pole to go through. And there's one in the center. Also, there's one that goes right here on this post, and then one on the other post. All right, so we're gonna get them put on. I leg bolt that in with the long leg bolts. I use these spacks, 4.5 inches. So they go well into that post to hold that on. Alright, so we're using those bigger leg bolts they give you with the kit. And they're slotted also. So you have a little bit of adjustment. So I put them right in the middle. And then, once I know where I can put in these long leg screws, and I drive them in. Then we're going to tighten up these carriage head bolts. All right. So there's your first one held in place. Now we need to take a little bit measurement here. So I'm going to measure off of the center, off the top of my wood there. So off the top of my wood to the center of my wheel is about 3 5/8 inches. So that's how we set up that middle bracket so that it's all in a straight line all the way across. Something like that there. Alright, so I marked this up at my 3 1/2 inches, and that, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little dink right here. That's the center of that space. So I'm just lining it up to that dink and to my center post right there. I just make a mark where my first lag bolt goes. Alright, just like that. So this bracket right here, this is where the springs bolt up to. One more thing I want to check. So the center coming out from the board is about 3 3/8. So I'm just gonna make a little mark on here too. And I have a visual later on where I'm trying to line up the center of that spring to. So we're gonna move down, put that other bracket on, and then we'll get this pole put in. Actually I can put it in a pole right now, halfway. Okay, that pole slides in there very easy. The only thing that really holds it on later on are the pulleys. You crank them tight and then the pole can't go, side to side once those pulleys are on. So one thing I should mention, before you start running this door up and down, you want to go back and you want to check all your bolts. Okay, so I checked them yesterday. All my track bolts, because remember we just were snugging them up as we were going up. So you want to go back and you want to tighten everything once you got the tracks all in line and everything. So you go do that. And then as I was doing that, I noticed one of my hinges, I didn't even have the screws in it. So that would have been bad. So that's just a safety check before you start operating this door, is go back and check all your stuff. Okay? So we got all the brackets on. This is everything that goes on is this. So there's one little piece here you don't want to miss, and that is this bearing. This bearing is for that center bracket, and this bearing basically goes I put it inside the black one. It could go inside the red one from the other side. It really wouldn't matter. I put it inside the black one. But it goes inside the end of the black spring. So you put that on first, and it just sits in there loosely. You know, it's not in there tight or nothing. So it just sits in there loosely. So I just slide it on first. Get that on there. Then we need the black spring. So here's the black spring. It's labeled black right there. And this is the side that bearing goes into. Now I should point out that your spring comes with a tag on it. So on that tag, if you look right up here where my finger is, on that tag, it tells you 12.4 turns. That's how many turns you're going to put on that spring. Now, this is where these companies drive me crazy. All right? So you have 4 holes in your spring. So how do they arrive at 12.4? It would be 12 and a quarter, 12 and a half, 12 and 3/4, or 13, wouldn't it? Just ask them, you know? But they have 12.4 turns on here. So I guess I need to be a mathematician to figure out where a 0.4 turns is on that spring. But anyhow, that's where you get your number from. And in the directions, it tells you to look on the box. So the box doesn't have nothing on it. It's on a little clip that's on a spring. And that may be different depending on what kit you get. The spring is going to slide on in the set screws go to the outside. So the flange bolts to that bracket. All right, then next comes your pulley. So black pulley with a black spring. And this hub sticks out a little bit. So if you look at the way this pulley is made, that cable can only go on there one way, and it's wrapping like this here, so it's pulling the door up, okay? And that's it on this side. So we're going to put this into its bearing, and they slide. If you got this lined up pretty good, it just slides right in. All right. So now I know from my other door that this was 4.5 inches, but we're going to wait on that because we got to tighten this all up here first. We got to get our cable up here. So you want to make sure that cable is free all the way down, and we're just gonna lightly snug them up so it can't just go flying off on me. So now we got to move back down and put the other spring and pulley on that end, back on that end, and then we're ready to tighten everything up and get her going. So just the opposite of that side. We're just gonna slide this down a little bit so that we can get the spring on there. The springs really aren't that heavy, but sometimes when you're up here and you're in an awkward position, they can feel that way. So again, on the pulleys, set screws to the inside. On the springs, set screws to the outside. Okay? That'll help you keep it straight. So now we just put this back in there. shoot for our 4.5 inches. So I'm just going to set it to my 4.5 inches because I don't see why it would be any different from the other side down there. Within a 1/4 inch or so. So here's where your vice grip comes in. You're going to put the vice grip on there like that. And then you're going to turn against each other. You're going to turn the pole and this pulley. And you're going to get it as tight as you can. Okay? And then tighten these up. And what that does is that locks it in place. So when you start tightening up these springs, it can't turn that way on you and unravel. All right? So I got a wrench here somewhere. There it is, right below my feet. This is a 3/8 wrench. All right. So you're locked in and you got tension on that pulley right there, on that cable. Okay, like you're trying to lift the door with your hand, basically. So now we'll come over here to the center. We have to bolt this up. So the weight of the springs are pulling it down. It's not in the center of that slot right now. So I gotta kind of lift it up and get this bolt in here. So now in your instructions, they give you what's called an addendum. And that addendum has 15 different ways to put these bolts into this bracket. So that's why I took these measurements before to try and give myself an idea of what hole I'm supposed to have this in. What was my earlier measurement? 3 3/8, I believe, right? And that is exactly where we are. So all this other stuff is for different setups that you don't have. Oh, I lost a set screw. That is not good. I lost a set screw. I'm gonna have to go look around for that. I would imagine it's down there on the floor somewhere. All right, well, let's get this bolted up. All right, and that's all there is to it. So now we got this cable tightened up. So now we got to go down there on that, back down to that end and tighten up that cable and try and get them both about the same so that when you start tightening these springs up, it's equal, they're equal tension is basically what you're trying to get. So, you know, you want to just kind of come down here, just kind of feel what you got there for tension, and by turning this vice grips, you can actually make it a little tighter, but it's good right where it is. There's some good tension on there. So we're gonna go down and we're gonna move over and we're gonna do that. I gotta look for my set screw. Do I have 2 of them in that one? Yeah, I got 2 of them in that one. So there's a set screw laying down there somewhere. I'd say it's about 20 degrees cooler when I walk out that door, the little service door right there, and it's all shaded on that side of the building right now because the sun's over on the east side yet. But boy, by this afternoon it's going to be hot. Hot and sweaty. So all we're going to do now is we're going to take this and we're going to get the same tension on this cable as we got on that cable down there. And I did not find a set screw. I did not find the set screw. Don't know where it is. For all I know, I backtracked all the way back to the garage where I had them sitting in the garage. But for part of the winter, they were up there on my trailer until I started using the trailer. Then I moved everything into the garage. So any time it could have fallen out, or during shipping it could have fallen out, because these were just thrown on a truck when they came. They were not in a box or anything like they're supposed to be. They just were thrown on a truck. So it could have fallen out anywhere, but because I am who I am, I actually have some in stock. They should be the same exact ones, 3/16, I believe they are. Yep, it's exactly the same. Yeah, not going to be an issue. Now you want to make sure you got that in the track that it's supposed to be in. And then all I'm doing is twisting it so it's got the same tension as it got down there. That's all I'm doing. So in the book, it says you're supposed to snug these up and then turn them about 4 turns past where you're at. Yeah, 4 turns. So they actually want them to dimple into this pipe, so they can't move. And it's going to be the same thing when you start tightening up the tension on these springs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to center my scaffolding here so that I can get at both sides of this spring and add my tension to it. Time to tighten these springs. So you're going to need 2 1/2-inch bars. So I used to have some of these, and I don't know where they went to. They're probably in a tote here somewhere. But so I went back and bought another bar, 36-inch bar, and cut it in half. So they're 18 inches. That gives you enough leverage to tighten these springs. So we're going to go 12.5 turns instead of the 12.4 that they tell me in the book or on the tag. So we're just going to go 12.5. So I think I misquoted earlier on these set screws. So I went back and looked at the book, and the book is 1 1/4 turns past snug. So when you're tightening this up, you get it to where it's snug. So 1 1/4 turns would be 5 flats. All right, I think I misquoted that earlier when I was talking about it. So that way it dimples the shaft, and it's different if you have a solid shaft or a hollow shaft. This is a hollow shaft, so the 1 1/4 turns applies, okay? If it's a solid shaft, I think it was just a 1/2 turn or something like that. So we're gonna start winding these up. Now what I do is I got the wrench in my pocket here, right? It's a 3/8 wrench to tighten these up. So I go four turns at a time, okay? And that way I'm keeping them even as I'm tightening up. And then I snug up the screw, and I go back, do 4 more turns until I get to my 12.5 turns, all right? So I have my black mark right on the top here, and we're just gonna start tightening it up. Now one thing I should point out to you, when there's no tension on it, it's no big deal. But once you get 12.5 turns on it, you want to try to stand off to the side that your body is not in the way of these bars in case you slip, because that bar is going to come down and wrap you on the shoulder or in the chest, and it's going to hurt. So try to, if you have the room. If you're working on a ladder, it's kind of hard, but try and stay off to the side. There's one. There's 2. come down on this end and do the same thing. Okay, so that one's got 8 turns, this one's only got 4, and it's already getting very, very tight. So like I say, you know, take your time. You don't want to slip here when this starts getting really tight like that. All right, 8 turns on both of them. I'm gonna take a little break because I'm getting really hot, and I want to make sure I'm cooled off before I do the next 4, the last 4 turns. All right, I moved the camera a little bit. Maybe you'll be able to see the whole thing here now. So I'm at 8 turns on both sides, so I gotta do the last 4.5 turns. I have noticed that my left arm is still not as strong as my right arm, and it never was originally, but I can notice a big difference yet when I'm doing stuff like this here. That is very tight at 12.5 turns. All right, so now I can take this vice grip off over here. We will move the scaffolding out of the way and see if the door goes up. All right, so I put my door handle right here in the middle, so I got something to lift on. I got my rope attached. I don't have the other, don't have the eye screw in there yet, but this will work just fine for testing it. So if you did everything right, you got your slop in there, and this should go up. It should go up just fine. That's beautiful. So now when you look up there in my rollers, I got my 1/4 inch there. This side over here isn't quite a 1/4 inch, but you get the idea, you know. You need that slop in there for that door to move freely. So really, that's gonna be it for putting up a door. Now the only thing I have to do yet is I have to remove these temporary stops I put on, and I have to put my rubber weather seal on there, and I have to wait for Barb to get back because it's so flimsy I can't hold it up there and screw it in at the same time. So she needs to be here and get up there on the scaffolding with me, and she'll help me do all of that. She's gone right now on a girls' retreat, another girls' retreat. So if you like these videos, you know, give me a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it was kind of a long video, but I wanted you to see the whole process, start to finish, on what it takes to put a door like this together. And that anybody can do it if you just have a little patience and just take your time and do it, you know? So, all right, later.